Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code Ahsoka in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the Force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video, we have an update for The Mandalorian Season 4. We're gonna go ahead and hop right on into it. After taking nearly a 2-year hiatus, The Mandalorian has finally made its long-awaited return in March of last year, 2023. And the show's third season had received quite a few mixed responses from both Star Wars fans and the casual viewers alike, also critics. But it also turned out to be fairly effective prologue to the events of the Ahsoka show. The season's finale also pressed a bit of a reset button as a soft reboot by the ending with Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, and Grogu setting up a new life together on Navarro at the same time that Bo-Katan and her fellow Mandalorians finally start rebuilding their long-abandoned home planet on Mandalore. So really, in a way often described, The Mandalorian Season 3's finale really was kind of like this soft reboot of where we have all these other characters like Ahsoka. She finally has her own show. The rest of the Mandalorians like Bo-Katan and also the Armorer and her like covert of all the weird Mandalorians that like to keep their helmets on are kind of all able to just go off and like do their own thing now finally. Also with Boba Fett and his own show, The Book of Boba Fett, there's been a lot of different speculations for the better part of over a year at this point that he is going to get a second season of his show, but there's no yet official confirmation. I do think though, however, that The Book of Boba Fett and like Boba Fett's overall character could appear and honestly should appear in The Mandalorian Season 4. From there, The Mandalorian Season 4 can pretty much do the same thing that the second season of the show did, in the sense of like it's set up for what we saw in The Book of Boba Fett. Like The Mandalorian Season 4 could essentially just set things back up for a second season of The Book of Boba Fett, almost in the sense of like soft rebooting it there as well. Anyway, the season's conclusion of the third season of The Mandalorian, in other words, opens the door for The Mandalorian to go in several different directions and on his own terms when it does return for Season 4. It could continue to follow both Bo-Katan and Din, but I undoubtedly don't think that's going to be a thing. I definitely think that they're kind of done with Bo-Katan and her character. That isn't to say that like she isn't going to be appearing, however, like anywhere in the future of the Mandoverse or with The Mandalorian Season 4. She'll definitely be in and out, but won't be taking so much of like a main kind of character standpoint, or really just occasionally check in on the former's reconstruction of the Mandalore planet overall. I think is something very similar to what we're going to see with Mandalore kind of being rebuilt through the episodes or even through the seasons. Really the same thing that we saw with Grief Karga and Navarro. Either way, fans remain incredibly curious to see what The Mandalorian Season 4 will do when it inevitably returns. Fortunately or unfortunately though, however, there's been little revealed about the actual fourth season of the show. We know that they were originally going to start shooting in its production, like filming last year in September of 2023, but due to the Hollywood strikes, they had to hold off, and now it's going to begin its production and its filming next month in February. Other rumors had circulated around by the end of last year that they were actually reconstructing it to be rewritten into a movie, but that's simply just not true and isn't the case. It's still going to be released on Disney Plus as a show with its fourth season. Prior to the conclusion of The Mandalorian Season 3 though, one of the series' executive producers and reoccurring directors, Rick Famuyiwa, revealed in an interview with Collider that the show's fourth season was already done and written with. Jon Favreau later took to confirm the same thing at Star Wars Celebration last year. Dave Filoni, meanwhile, suggests that the season would likely begin filming around the end of 2023. We now have more official confirmation, like from the likes of Making Star Wars and Bespin Bolton, other reported leakers saying that it's going to begin its production in February of next month. Work on the season was already likely delayed several months by this past month though, however, and past year really, with the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA Hollywood strikes. However, now that the strikes are now resolved in September of last year and in November, respectively, it means that it's time for Lucasfilm, Jon Favreau, and all their different directors, producers to get back to work and start putting together a production schedule for The Mandalorian Season 4 more cohesively, I guess. That's especially true if Favreau and Filoni really had already finished writing the season months before the WGA strike began in May. Like they just wouldn't have been able to really work on its actual filming production process because of the Hollywood strikes, and that's really more into with the actors, of by which those strikes were very much necessary and needed though. So into the regards of the actual plot details though, however, of The Mandalorian Season 4, well, as I kind of had mentioned there's many different different directions that they're able to take now here, especially given the season 3's finale, giving us that kind of quote-unquote soft reboot. We do know that the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, is going to pick up with the New Republic and start working more with them more closely, almost as like bounty missions, as we saw with the season 3 finale, as he looks to go work with Carson Teva, the New Republic fighter pilot. This has really led a lot of fans to believe that the 4th season of the show is going to be very similar to what the 1st season of the show was, where it was pretty much just a strand of episodes of Mando kind of going on these bounty missions, which was pretty dope to see. Although I believe the unfortunate aspect to that, though, however, is that there isn't really necessarily any overarching narrative throughout the actual season itself. Like, it's just kind of like Mando going on these missions. It's cool, it's fun, it's action-packed probably, but like, what's the point? What's the actual story trying to get at? And maybe that's also the point of The Mandalorian. Like, there just isn't supposed to be necessarily a point of like an overarching narrative that we see conclude by the season finale. It's really just maybe Mando kind of going off on these missions. Although I will say, however, a lot of other fan theories believe that Moff Gideon will return for a 4th time in The Mandalorian season 4, as he went away in the 1st season, came back, and did the same for the 2nd season, did the same thing for the 3rd season. Seemingly, he did die and meet his end, though, however, in The Mandalorian season 3's finale, being like blown up, but now that he has clones on the loose, that adds a lot more into the mix of things, and a lot of fans believe that they're going to pick back up with that overarching story of like what's going on with Moff Gideon and all of his different clones, and kind of like really go more in depth into explaining exactly what's going on with all that, and also furthermore on how that's going to tie in with the rest of the Shadow Council, which is really just the rest of the Imperial Remnant officers like Thrawn, and also how that's going to tie more heavily into Thrawn, the Thrawn movie necessarily as well, also known as the Mandoverse Cultimation movie that was announced last year at Star Wars Celebration. Those there, however, are 2 different definite kind of areas I think that The Mandalorian Season 4 will also cover. I also just had another video here on the channel come out about the Mandalorian prophecy that I think that we'll see fulfilled by not necessarily The Mandalorian Season 4, but definitely by the Mandoverse Thrawn movie by Dave Filoni of Into the Regards of the Mythosaur. I feel like it kind of fell off, like a lot of fans kind of just forgot about it, but that's definitely something that's going to wrap back around. The only live-action Star Wars shows currently expected to premiere on Disney Plus in the new year of 2024 are the likes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew being the next big live action and addition to the Mandoverse, so there's a potential to see many things of The Mandalorian Season 4. Also, the Ahsoka show tie into the Skeleton Crew. Also, we're getting the Acolyte show that's really about the High Republic and like before the events of the Skywalker saga. Filming had already begun on the 2nd season of Andor before the Hollywood strikes kicked off, but the season itself isn't slated to premiere this year unfortunately anymore, and is looking to be released in 2025 alongside with The Mandalorian Season 4, also set for some type of release in 2025. Many people are thinking around the springtime or earlier in the year. If fans continue to go without updates though, however, the season's potential release window will only continue to get pushed back too, unfortunately. Right now, it seems also almost like a certainty that The Mandalorian will end up taking yet another 2-year break between its seasons. It's undoubtedly a surprising development given that The Mandalorian's place as the crown jewel of Lucasfilm's Disney Plus programming, but I also believe that there's going to build up a lot of hype for what we're going to see with the future of The Mandalorian. Like, a lot of people are going to be excited about The Mandalorian show itself coming back once again. Anyway guys, this overall video is just an overall kind of like overview video of everything that we know about The Mandalorian Season 4 thus far here, like everything that's going on with it, and to regards to the plot details, very little known about that, but also really its overall filming and its production slate there going on as well. I'll continue to keep you guys updated with The Mandalorian Season 4, not just that, but also all types of other Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel that we're discussing and covering here on the channel. All the more reason to grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions and theories in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.